All right, 1 2 1 2. We are live. This is Black Comics Chat. We have a very special Kickstarter show with Jamila Rowser. She is the creator of Wash Day. But before we get there, I'm Anthony Otero, aka Latinegro, aka the Undercover Sith Lord of the Black Comics Chats, and I am with the International Woman of Mystery, Grace. Hey, what's up?
What's going on, good people? Fresh off the war tour, as always, Carmen San Diego of the crew, and I should say the lady Carmen San Diego, because like now Leo is becoming like the male version. So, yes, excited about today. Me and Tony get to bounce it off with some good vibes here with Jamila. So we got to dive in and see what we're gonna do.
That's right. And our special guest, Jamila, how are you?
Good, good. I feel like I have to come up with an AKA too. So the only one I have is Kawaii Trap Lord.
That works. That
works. So we're gonna kick right into it. We only have a short amount of time. So let's talk about your origin story. Tell us how you got into what you're into, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. So first off, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be on the show. So how I got into this. My family is basically like a bunch of geeks. So I grew up with anime, even my extended family with like a late Uncle Barry, who is comic book fanboy, like has hundreds, maybe thousands of comics. I don't even know. And like another uncle who is just like super into Star Wars, and that's where I first watched Akira and Princess Mononoke in like his Bronx apartment. So this is just like, it's in my blood. I was born to kind of love all of this stuff. So when I was in grad school, I wanted to start a blog. And I don't have a lot of friends. Well, I didn't then. I just had kind of like one and, my family members to talk about geek stuff with. So I wanted to start a blog so I can write about the stuff that I love that I didn't get to talk about. So that's when I started Girl Gone Geek, and I should really know the year that it started. But it was in the, I don't know what year, but it lasted for like 6 years. And that kind of was like the gateway for me into at least the like online subculture of like geek culture. And that's where I made a ton of friends. I was able to be on panels and just talking about like comics and just geek culture and blogging and things like that. And then from there is when I started Geek Girl Brunch with my friends Yasel and Rachel. So that was also kind of like spawned from the sort of internet subculture, because we were friends on Twitter, yet we lived in the same city, but we never really hung out, except we would see each other at this awesome Doctor Who bar in Brooklyn called the Way Station. So we were like, let's, meet up with some other geek bloggers and have brunch. So we would start to do that. And of course, it only takes like a couple of, times before we want excuses to cosplay. So we were like, let's make these themed and, dress up and like go to specific places. And so I started calling it Geek Girl Brunch, and we shared online and people loved it. And they're like, oh, I wish I could go. And we were like, maybe we should make this like a thing, like a bigger thing that people can, join us for Geek Girl Brunch. So that's how that started. And it's been like 4 or 5 years. We started in New York first. And then, of course, people were like, that's cool, but they didn't live in New York. They're like, I wish I could go. So we're like, maybe we can, start chapters around the States or the world, and have officers run the events and things like that. So that's kind of how it happened. It was really organic and just kind of by the demand or need that we saw in the community. So we have like thousands of members now. We have chapters all over the world. And what we really want Geek Girl Brunch to do is to be like a safe space for women and non-binary folks, so they can kind of network and be friends and things like that. Because, of course, like the world and geek culture is really shitty to women. So we just wanted like a safe space where we can just nerd out and not have to worry about sexist stuff happening. So that's Geek Girl Brunch. That's awesome, and everybody who like works really hard to make it happen is amazing. And then I also started Straight Outta Gotham. There's like a lot of side projects, which is like a theme of my life.
Everybody's got to have a side hustle.
Right.
Because the 9 to 5 is not being like the passion driver for me. Unfortunately, it pays the bills though.
Okay.
So Straight Outta Gotham, I started because I wanted to showcase like the connections between hip hop and geek culture. And that's been a lot of fun. We've done articles and playlists on Tidal. And we did our first event this last month. And I run that now with Jamar Souza, who's also my boyfriend. And so that works out. So those are those side projects. But then eventually comics came. So first I've loved comics. But I had a lot of self-doubt about whether I could write any. I would think about ideas and really want to like read certain comics that didn't exist. And just seeing like, just really being inspired by a lot of the people who have been publishing and self-publishing a lot made me feel like maybe I could do it too. So I kind of just quieted the self-doubt low enough for me to kind of get a script done. And that's where Wash Day came about. And I've actually been working on it off and on for over 2 years, just with like a 9 to 5 and all the other projects I mentioned and moving. It's just been a challenge. And also like anxiety and self-doubt definitely makes it hard. But I finally did it with the help of J.A. Micheline, who's my amazing script editor. So that's how Wash Day kind of came about. And now we have this Kickstarter, and Robyn Smith is the amazing artist. So I guess it's kind of almost inevitable for me to kind of get into comics just with my passion for writing and passion for the culture. So yeah, that's like a long origin story, but I guess everybody's is long.
Well, that's a very, very great origin story, by
Very
the way.
thorough, yes.
Very thorough, yes. I mean, we could talk about just one particular thing for the entire hour.
Right.
But so, if I'm correct, Wash Day reached its goals pretty early, or its main goal. Am I correct?
Yeah, in like 48 hours of it launching.
Hours.
Right.
I'm holding my head like still in astonishment.
Like, you know, we decided to do this Kickstarter. It was like, oh, it just started, and then I sent out the email, and it was like, wait a minute, she's already met her goal.
Yeah. I remember seeing it, and then I think the next day they were like, "Oh yeah, met its goal." I was like, "Oh damn!" Like, like okay, all right.
Yeah. That it was like because it launched on my birthday on April 3rd.
Awesome.
And I'm like, well, maybe if it's my birthday, people will be more like incentivized to like back it. And I don't know if that was the key to it, but it was really surprising. Like, I definitely have faith that we would reach the goal, or else I wouldn't have done a Kickstarter. But I didn't think it would be this fast. I thought it'd be like 2 weeks, of just like mostly my own network and friends and family being like the reason for it. But 48 hours was a whirlwind, and it's been so amazing to get everybody's support on this.
That's dope. So let's talk about your stretch goals. I want to make sure that we get all the way to the point where it's like everything is done. So you've already locked one of them, which is the Wash Day artist will receive a bonus, which is great. But you have 2 more, which I honestly find fascinating.
Yeah, so I'm Black and Latina, and even though I don't speak Spanish,
me neither. Okay.
You too? What's your background?
I am Puerto Rican and Ecuadorian.
You said Puerto Rican, Ecuadorian?
Yes.
Okay, I am Black, Puerto Rican, and Dominican.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I have a ton of shame of not knowing how to speak Spanish, but I'm working on it. And
That's good.
but it's not stopping me from wanting to get Watch Day translated. I just want it more accessible to as many people as possible. And I don't know if a lot of comics get, translated often, especially indie comics, because of budget. But I figure if there's a Kickstarter that I have and we're able to unlock a stretch goal for it, that would be amazing. So Joa met Gill, who is this
Yes. Oh
awesome,
my gosh, she's great.
She's a
right?
veteran of the show. Yep.
Right?
Yes.
So dope. So she's, of course, illustrator, publisher, like extraordinaire um, of Power and Magic Press.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a super fan of hers. And she is going to be the Spanish translator, which is
Wow.
so dope. And the Spanish editor is going to be Desiree Rodriguez, who is
What?
yeah.
Oh my God.
Who's going to be, or who is an editor or assistant editor or editor at Lion Forge.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a power team going. So I'm super happy to have them a part of the project. I think we're going to make our stretch goals. But so right now we're like a little over 10,000. And to get it translated, we'll be at 11,000. So I think we can get that. And everybody who's backed the campaign and selected, who got the digital comic will get the English and Spanish.
Oh wow.
Cool.
Wow.
Yes.
And
yes.
I'm like, why not? Like, it's like it's a digital comic. You can have both. And after that, just 11,500. We're gonna print 300 print copies in Spanish. And I live in South Florida, which is like basically Caribbean and South America. Like it doesn't really feel like part of the States sometimes. Until I see Trump bumper stickers. So yeah, except for that. But yeah, like it's just being down here and always hearing Spanish everywhere and just knowing people who don't speak English or speak English well or can read well. It's like I think of course there's a market for it. And I would love to be able to sell my comics to them. And I think also with the Spanish translation is also tied with like a lot of the racism that's of course like, embedded in the world, but there's a specific kind with like with Caribbean folks and South American folks, colonization is a bitch. And that like colonial mindset is really hard to shake off if that's all you've known or been affected by. So there's a lot of hate for like kinky hair and dark skin and things like that. And just as there's this amazing movement for natural hair here, I know there is, in Spanish speaking countries as well. So I'd really love for them to be able to read this comic and, in a language that they, in their native tongue and be able to relate to it and be inspired.
And I think that's the great thing about like hair is that it translates,
Yes.
all races, colors. I mean, it's, hair is something that we all have in some sort of fashion, and particularly if, as far as like, if you're looking at like hair on the head, there's so many stories that people can share and tell. And like, even just looking at it, like that's a language that gets translated in itself too. So yeah.
I also think it's incredible that you were able to produce such a team. We know Jomet, we know Desiree. I've worked with Desiree in the past, and we just had a show with Jomet a couple of weeks ago. So it feels like we all run in the same circles, and I find that to be so great. I'm glad that that's happening. And I honestly, I don't think I even own a comic book that's in Spanish now.
I don't either.
On purpose.
But you can own mine.
Yeah. So I think that's dope. And furthermore, I think about my nieces who are Puerto Rican and Dominican, and being able to possibly have something for them you know, that I could pass along to them when they get older, because they will speak Spanish probably better than me. So to sort of have that out there for like at least young girls to see, I think is amazing.
Yeah. So I don't know about young girls because there is a little bit of weed, and a little bit of nudity.
Wait till they get older. I'll wait till they get older.
I would say late teens, or as long as their parents, or of course, uncle, thinks it's okay. I don't think it's that bad, but I always put that disclaimer because I ain't trying to get anybody in trouble, and I don't want anybody to yell at me.
I appreciate that. Thank you for warning me.
Of course.
Thank you. They'll have to wait on that. So talk to us a little bit about your writing style. Like, how did we get to this point where you were able to sort of get through any sort of writing frustrations to come up with a script to what it is now? How did you get through that?
It's been a really interesting process because as it being my first script, I kind of went through the motion of like feeling like I needed to do it a certain way and learn all these specific comic writing things, And so I did some like research and read some stuff, but then I didn't want to just get too bogged down into the research of things and trying to write in a specific way that it would prevent me from even putting out a script or just like hinder the writing in itself. So I felt like I did enough. And then I'm like, you know what? I'll just write the script as best I can and get a great editor, which I did, and just learned a lot from her. So Wash Day has had many different iterations. It was even going to be like a trilogy, which it may possibly be with like different genres of Wash Day and different like, sci-fi and fantasy. But then I just kind of stuck with, I'm just going to do slice of life. This was my first idea. So let me just stick with my first idea and not all these what ifs and just go with my gut. But it had always included Kim and Cookie because I wanted their names to be named after this Outcast skit called Kim and Cookie. Mm-hmm. And so I love Outcast and I love a little reference. And it was always going to be in the Bronx. And there's always going to be a lot of hair involved. So that was always like, that's always kind of been there. And the rest was just like tweaks with slice of life aspects of it. For me, it was, especially it being a slice of life as my first script, was also a challenge because I worried like, it's slice of life. Is it going to be boring to people? Like, I love slice of life and I think it's super interesting, but there's no monsters, there's no superheroes. But then that's also that self-doubt and kind of like, doubting, my work and doubting if people would like it and just be like, well, I don't know, maybe it won't be good, but I'm going to do my best. And so I kind of went through a lot of script revisions, like with myself internally. And then once I felt it was like done, quote unquote, that's when I reached out to Jam to be the editor. And then through that, it went through several revisions. And she really helped me. I'm trying to think because it's been like a while since we worked on the script. But she really helped me kind of understand a lot more about kind of writing for scripts and writing for an artist to read scripts specifically, because I would make thumbnails like all the time to make sure like if what I'm writing in this panel, can it fit in a panel, like, or can these panels fit on a page without it being too cluttered, and about page turns and things like that. So just really trying to be aware of that, and also just studying the comics I was reading more as I was writing, just kind of seeing like the pacing of things. So I think that's kind of how that went through. I'm not sure how many revisions we had, maybe like 4 or 5. And there were a lot of like long time spaces between me like editing a script, because we'd have a chat. It would be great. And I'm like, I'm pumped. I can do this. I believe in myself. And then like a week later, I'm like, who are you kidding? You can't do this. So, and then just working a 9 to 5 and everything else, it was tough. So, but I finally did it. It probably took like 2 years and maybe like three to five script revisions. And to where we are now. And it started a lot shorter, but it grew to 27 pages. Wow. I definitely wanted to make sure there was space for the hair. That's the most important thing, and just wanting to really show the steps. Something else I wanted is like some of it to even be able to be used as a tutorial in a way, like with how to like do a flat twist and things like that, without it kind of being a tutorial. So yeah, there's a lot of like watching hair videos and asking my friends their wash day routine, to try to get the most like general one for at least people who like wear their hair naturally. But I know there's so many different types of like wash days, and you get a weave, you can get a blowout, you can do all sorts of things. But this one was specifically for natural hair. Because that's what I have, and that's what takes me all Sunday. So plenty of inspiration. And unfortunately, I don't know.
Well, what is a typical, like tell us your wash day, like give us a snapshot into that, on a Sunday for you.
So if I am good and don't wait until like the last minute to wash my hair, it usually consists of me shampooing it. I love Shea Moisture. It's like their moisture retention shampoo or moisture something shampoo. I tried it. I'm like a creature of habit. If there's something I try and I like it, I don't like switch often.
Right. I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
Like with food, with everything, like it's probably like really whack, but I'm like, I'm not going to risk it. Like this works for me.
Especially when it comes to hair. Yeah.
Right. With products. So I have a shampoo down packed. Conditioners, I'm never satisfied. I will buy and try any conditioner like under the sun. There are some that I like, but I still am always like, it could be better. So I shampoo my hair, Shea Moisture, and then I put conditioner in it, whichever one I'm feeling at the moment. But one that I do use often is Aussie's 3-Minute Miracle Moist. It is super good. It's not even like for curly girls or anything, but my hair feels really great after it. So maybe I'll do that one, or I'll do like a deep conditioner, a deep like treatment, put my little transparent shower cap on. Actually, no, squash that. First I shampoo, I put the conditioner in, then I detangle. This is the bane of my existence. It takes me, it feels like hours, but it's probably like 15 minutes, but that's a really long time, I think. So I take my hair, section out, I got my wide tooth comb, detangling, thinking about cutting my hair this whole time.
Right. Yep.
Wondering like, what is the point of this? If I just chop this all off, I don't have to detangle it. And I finally finish, throw on my shower cap, get out the shower, kind of do whatever, just so you know. I don't even know if you leave your like conditioner in your hair longer than 15 minutes, if it even does anything after that. But I've been like, it's just, I don't know, like all my friends, and you leave the conditioner in, the longer it is, the better it works. So I probably do like 20 minutes at the most, get back in, shower, rinse it out, and then what for my hair? I mean, with this Florida humidity, I really can't, and my hair is pretty long, I just can't be bothered. So I typically like put some moisturizer in it, maybe some coconut oil, a lot of that stuff. I'm also never satisfied with products. Like I will try every product, and I will do like a flat twist and let it dry. And I'm so boring in the weekday. I just wear my hair like in a flat twist and a bun. And it's usually on the weekends where I let it out. I let it out of its cage, or I wear a head wrap if it looks like right? Like I'm like, okay, you can come out to play. And because the more it's out, the more it gets tangled. And you already heard me talk about detangling it. So yeah, that's my wash day. I don't know if it's pretty typical. Sometimes I'll like do rollers and have like a wash and set, but then that means I'm sweating under the dryer for hours. And like, who wants to do that? So I don't do that too often. I don't end up doing a lot of heat. I used to get Dominican blowouts all the time, but like my hair was like a mess. Like it looked really good, but it was super damaged. So I was like, I should probably chill on this. So yeah. What's your wash day routine?
So,
and because you have locks too, so
yeah, and they're
there's
long,
like the
so
twisting. How long are your locks?
so they come to my waist.
Wow. Oh, it sounds beautiful.
So, so for you, where the detangling is the bane of your existence, the sitting under the dryer is the bane of my existence. So, I'm always prepared with either my music, a book, or something, because I'm going to be sitting under there at least for an hour and 15 minutes, at least minimum. And so, because my hair is also so long, like just washing is just like, it's a lot. And then your hair gets heavy. And it's like making sure you get all in there and all in the back. And, so sometimes I will do my hair. And then sometimes I have a loctician who does my hair also. And so, because especially if I want to style in my hair, my loctician can do that. Because I mean, I can try trial and error, but, if somebody can do it, I'll pay the money for it. So,
I'm all about that.
But yeah, like the whole retwisting. So, in my front of my hair will always look great because I can see that. But the back, it's like, and then you have to clip it and have to stay. So, it's truly a process. You definitely have to take a day, whether it's a Saturday or Sunday, and you really can't go anywhere else unless it's late night,
right?
Because your day is pretty much it's a wrap. So
truly.
So it's like just seeing it unfold in this comic. I'm like, man, people are gonna. It's just gonna be a therapy to look at and be like, yes, thank you. Somebody has documented my story.
I know. I hope because like a lot of my friends have natural hair too, so we're always like talking about hair and just them casually mentioning their wash day, like, oh yeah, it's wash day. I'm not going anywhere today. It's just like this is it's an experience that a lot of women can share, a lot of Black women can share, and I just wanted to have something really specific to Black women in a comic made by Black women. I just wanted to serve like us as a community with a comic,
Right.
With this kind of self-care moment that we have, that a lot of us experience, and our hair is such a big part of our life, whether we want it to or not. And all of the politics surrounding hair and racism and things like that we experience with our hair. I just, it's our crown, but it's a crown people keep trying to copy, keep trying to snatch, like you name it. So we're awesome. I wanted to kind of celebrate that.
Absolutely. For sure.
I want to say that I enjoyed listening to all that. Not knowing anything about this. Yes. The only thing I can come close is remembering how my mother used to take all day to wash her hair, and then she had like a dryer. I don't know the kind, but she had like her own hair dryer that she would sit under for like
I have one of those
on a Sunday.
I envision.
I used to remember getting it. Used to get real hot. It was just wow. But before we continue, Marcus has joined us. So if Marcus wants to say hello, maybe have some questions.
Hey, what's going on, y'all?
Nothing,
Marcus.
Hey, how's it going, Jamila? Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's going great.
Yeah, I just ran in the doors from work, so I'm glad I was able to make it. But yeah, I don't want to interrupt the flow. So I just want to say definitely congrats already, and to everyone out there who hasn't pledged, definitely pledge so we can get those stretch goals.
That's right. That's right. I want to see this in Spanish. So one of the things that I enjoy looking at the panels that you have on your Kickstarter is the way Black hair is drawn. And I think that one of the complaints that we've seen with comic books is people don't know how to draw black women's hair.
Yes, indeed.
Right.
So how much of your, I guess the time spent in having input was spent on just the hairstyles? And I know that the artist isn't here, but at least if you could try to explain like what maybe the thought process was going into every panel when it came to displaying the hair.
Yeah, so Robyn Smith is super dope. It's also her birthday today. Happy birthday, Robyn.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
We're Aries. We love trap music. It's just like she's so sweet. It's like the perfect, like it's like such a perfect partnership. So I loved Robyn's art and the way she draws hair, and a lot of the girls she would draw, I think they may be all black, although they're in black and white. She just draws hair so good, and she loves drawing hair. So I really felt comfortable with not worrying about her. Also, she's black, so I mean, not every black artist knows how to draw hair, but based off of her art, I just really trusted her. And kind of the only details I shared was like, you know, I think I said that Kim's hair was like, I said the curl type. And the curl type of Cookie's hair, and that Kim's hair was really long and thick. And that was it. And I didn't have to say like, hey, her hair is not really looking black enough, or it's not like curl is just not really realistic. Like, I love the way she draws hair and curls, and I trusted her. She did a great job. Any little feedback I had when we were going through like the panels and things like that, it was never about hair. I was just like, oh, her hair looks so good. Or I just am like, why did we give Kim so much hair? I feel so bad for her. It's taking her so long to detangle it.
Awesome. Yeah. And that, like I said, that really does come across on the panels. And I would like to, again, congratulate you on forming such a powerful team with your editor and the artist, and of course with the Spanish peeps as well. Hopefully we'll get to those stretch goals.
Yeah, thank you. I love My Hero Academia, and especially since this Kickstarter launched, I've been thinking about Midoriya and how he's always like the main character, how he's always saying like, you know, he couldn't do it by himself, he couldn't do it without his friends and things like that. And I always think about my team, who's amazing, and of course like all the supporters and my friends and family, everybody who's been supporting and sharing it. And I love Midoriya, and I also just find any excuse to talk about My Hero Academia. So that was the plug for this show. we can talk about it for the rest of the show as well if you want. All the people came here for that.
So where did you get the inspiration for these characters? I mean, both being from the Bronx, one being African-American, one being Dominican, Puerto Rican. Was that done intentionally? Where did you sort of get that idea from?
Yeah, I mean, thinking about it now, Kim is like half of me and Cookie is like half of me as far as like Black and Puerto Rican and Dominican. But my hometown is the Bronx. Like, BX, I'm a military brat. BX. I'm a military brat. Are you from the Bronx?
Yes, I am.
What? Where? Oh yeah. So what area? I lived in Co-op City. I'm in Florida now, but
I grew up in Classen Point, so that's like where Soundview and White Plains meet.
Yeah. I was in Section 5. That's like my hometown. Being a military brat, I'm doing air quotes. So you can't see me, but I moved around my whole life. But both my parents are from the Bronx, and that's where my family. A lot of my family is, and that's where I lived. Up until like 2 years ago. And after high school and up until 2 years ago. So anyway, I knew the Bronx was going to be in the comic. Like, New York City's great, but Brooklyn gets so much, like, everybody always talks about Brooklyn. And I'm like, but I love the Bronx. And now we got like Cardi B doing her thing.
Right.
We got Jesus and Miro. I love Bodega Boys, Bodega Hive, Gang Gang. Like there's so much going on with the Bronx. So I'm like, fuck that. My comic's gonna be in the Bronx. And so the names Kim and Cookie are from the Outcast skit. And their personalities were, Cookie had the most specific like inspirations. She's like a bit of some of my friends, and her name is kind of ironically like my cousin. Like my cousin's name is Sabrina, but her nickname is Cookie. So it kind of worked out. And there was just certain aspects that I have like some common aspects from a lot of my friends that I kind of put into Kim and Cookie in like bits and pieces. So yeah, that's kind of, they're a little bit of everybody, basically.
Awesome. So I noticed that you have a love of hip hop. So if you want to just a little bit talk about Straight Outta Gotham.
Yes.
Yeah. So Straight Outta Gotham. So I said that it started, I actually started it a few years ago. This has this very specific origin story. I was cleaning my room in the Bronx, and I was listening to Knock If You Buck because why not?
Because that's what you do.
Song. It's an iconic song. And there's that line that y'all probably know, throwing bows from off the stage, or something Johnny Cage, basically. And I was like, oh, it's so good. I was like, I love those like geek references. They would make me so hype, especially like being a hip hop fan. Like I felt like it was like code words to me that other people may not know. And I'm like, oh, did you sneeze? Bless you.
Sorry.
I don't know if somebody sneezed.
That was me. I'm so sorry.
Oh, okay. Oh, no, it's fine. So I was like, oh, I really want to like showcase this in some way, or just kind of like, I don't know, share my love of this, because I know other people must really love hearing these things too. So I just started a Tumblr blog and made like memes of them and like GIFs with the lyric references and like an image related to it. And I would kind of just continue to add them. And then it must have been like a year or several months went by, and then I started to like fall off of it because I just didn't have the time. And then my boyfriend would submit lyrics to me for me to like create and post, because I would accept like submissions and stuff. And he was doing that for mad long. And then it came a point where I didn't even have time to make the images or GIFs anymore. And then he started to make them himself. He was just like, I'll just do this. So he just basically became my ghostwriter. And I was like, we should probably just like do this together now, because I can't do it by myself, clearly. And so he helped me kind of, evolve it from there. And we were able to do 2 Straight Outta Gotham playlists on Tidal, which is really cool, featuring songs that had like EQ references or samples. And we've done articles, and we had our first event last month. So we hope to do more, but we really just want to showcase, we both, we know we're not the obviously only people who love geek stuff and hip hop stuff. So we just kind of want to rep for them and kind of like be the, middle of that Venn diagram of showcasing that stuff.
That's what's. Do you have a favorite hip hop geek reference?
I have so many. Most of mine are like anime related, but I would say the Lubin the Third from Lupe on Touch the Sky is my favorite, because it's just perfect. And that song is super good, and it's Lupin the Third. Lupin the Third is so great. But I'm a sucker for any anime reference, truly. Especially like the less mainstream it is, the more I like it, because I'm like, oh, they're like really into this. And then I can just be like, oh, they like the same stuff I do. What about you?
Oh man.
Yeah, I got to think about that.
I'm like thinking about that too, like,
Right? I mean, like, yeah, because I always like read these, so I think about them a lot. And now every time I hear it, especially me and Jamar together and we're listening to a song and we hear a reference, we just like look at each other and we're like, yep, you got that? You got that? Okay, we're good. We'll like make a note of it. We have a very intense spreadsheet that he created because he's a spreadsheet master.
Yo, that's serious.
That is like,
that is
like hundreds of references. We got you. It's intense. It's amazing.
I guess
like one year. It's crazy.
Yeah, one that I heard today, I think was I think J. Cole said blow flames like Liu Kang. I think.
Nice.
So that stays on the Mortal Kombat theme.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else have one?
One for me is Q-Tip has this one Dance on the Glass where he makes a Luke Cage reference.
Okay,
the Luke Cage to the loose leaf page, running high, coming out in the yard. Yeah.
I wonder if that made we did a top 10 list for the year, and I think was up on our top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Wu-Tang.
Yeah, I was gonna say they stay. Yeah. I can't think of one, but I've always loved, Iron Man. I love that whole thing that Wu-Tang Clan does, particularly after their first album when they all went solo, and it was just everything was referencing. I remember Tony Snark and Iron Man. The whole kung fu thing. Because to me, growing up with kung fu is like probably one of the geekiest things I've ever experienced outside of role playing games.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Okay, that's my next question then. What's everyone's favorite kung fu movie?
We gonna go there. Five Deadly Venoms.
Oh, that's an excellent choice. What about you?
Y'all are about to kick me off because I don't have one.
That's okay. Hey, it's
okay. This is a judgment-free zone. Judgment-free zone.
We don't judge.
Yeah. I did get one of my friends, Zainab, yelled at me for not watching any Bruce Lee, so we're definitely gonna watch for the year. Which is crazy because my uncles were super into kung fu movies, but because I didn't grow up in New York, I just I ended up watching anime more than kung fu when I was at their house. But I want to.
Bruce Lee is a good place to start. Also, I know a lot of people know Jackie Chan for his everything after Rumble in the Bronx. But,
I watched a lot of those sort of more mainstreamy ones like Jackie Chan and when Jet Li was.
But definitely check out Drunken Master. That's like old school Jackie Chan.
Okay.
He was doing this thing.
Jet Li is awesome, man. He was just in that movie, and he's like.
Oh yeah,
I mean, he's not old,
the Foreigner, right?
Yes,
the Foreigner.
God, yeah.
I was like, you are still getting it in. He is truly amazing.
Yeah,
and he seems like a really nice guy.
He really was. Yeah,
I know, it was really sad. Ugh, I didn't like seeing him so sad. I was like, I want this to be happy at the end, but I mean, there's no way that's happening. Not the way this movie's set up.
Wasn't in the cards.
Nope, not at all.
No.
What about you, Grace? Did you watch Kung Fu growing up?
Sparingly, and it was, of course, Bruce Lee stuff, and then I guess in the 2000s and stuff, I would watch IP Man and all that. So,
oh yeah.
I'm kind of all over the place. I can't really think of a favorite one, but it's enough to where I was I enjoy it. And that's kind of where I am when it comes to Kung Fu.
Okay, cool. Jamila, I had a question. Just jumping back to the Kickstarter. I know I jumped on late, so forgive me if you already spoke about this. But I know you were talking about Robyn's incredible artwork. Did you speak about your writing process on this story at all?
Yeah, I did. But I guess just to say it again, shorter now that I've said it and my thoughts are a little more collected. Because it was my first comic and it was a slice of life. It was challenging because I was worried that it may be too boring because it's slice of life and doesn't have, any sort of supernatural elements to it. But what I did was I just kind of did some good research. I didn't spend a ton of time, but I definitely, Googled and read some books about like writing for comics, just to kind of get the pacing, studying comics that I have, especially comics that I liked and liked their pacing. And I did a bunch of drafts and a lot of versions, like with myself first before reaching out to Jam. Once I was like, I felt like the comic was in a good place and ready for an editor, I reached out to her because I was like, well, I can, study as much as I want and I can do as many drafts as I want, but I won't know how it is really unless I get like an expert to look at this. So I'm like, I'll just have a really good editor and they'll help me. So yes, Jam was awesome and she helped me. We went through several like revisions with that and got it into a place I feel really good about. But yeah, it was just a lot of like studying, seeing things that I liked. I'm more influenced by manga than like Western comics, especially josei and shoujo slice of life. So those are like, that's kind of where I lean towards. Like those are some of my favorite creators. So Robyn loves manga as well. So it was really like a great match. And I was really looking for like, when I was looking for an artist, somebody who I thought like their art style would work well for this comic and who had some sort of like, understanding of those like manga like sensibilities as well. And I think she's done a great job. And I love her black and white artwork.
Yes, yeah.
I just end up reading a lot of black and white. So it was, and the grayscaling that she's done with skin tone is super important. And that's something we talked about when picking like how it would be drawn, like if it would be just ink, if it would be grayscale. And I'm like, it's really important for it to be grayscale because I want people to see like, get a sense of how dark skinned Kim is and, and Cookie and things like that and other people that are in the comic.
Yeah, that's really dope. And like, I mean, so one thing is like, I personally like, I love, manga as well. And we've talked before on the show about how there's been varying degrees of success with some manga as far as representing Black people. But I really like when it's done well and it's, done by us. I think that like that combination of like Black people and manga sensibilities and storytelling is really it's just dope. I like it. So I'm definitely glad.
I'll say thank you for Robyn too.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, both of you. That's really cool.
I also wanted to say that thank God for editors because I'm not really sure where we would be without them. Because I seriously have issues with typos, and if it wasn't for any of my editors, I don't know where I would be right now.
Truly. Like I like autocorrect is such a crutch. Like I just try to spell words good enough to where it will figure out what I'm trying to spell.
And I will delete words just to make sure I can get it close enough.
Yeah, Jam is amazing, and she's such a great critic. And that's like I've been following her articles and stuff, like J.A. Micheline, and I was like, well, if she will be my editor, like if she can like the comic, then I think it'll be good because she's a great critic and I think she has great taste in comics as well. And I've learned so much from her.
Yeah. The other thing I want to say is like, just going back to what you were saying about how you had initial doubts about writing a slice of life comic. I personally think there needs to be like a lot more slice of life comics for Black people, like featuring or just like people of color, period. You know what I mean? Because it's like we shouldn't need to have to like, do some like superhuman stuff in order for our stories to be seen as interesting. You know what I mean? And like comics as a medium, it's like we've definitely spoken about this before about how like it's just wide open as far as the type of stories you can tell. It's such a wide range. And so I definitely don't think that like, Black people should be shut out of that, and like Leo and myself, like, we do a slice of life comic featuring Black and brown people. And, we just felt like we had to be fearless in telling that story because, it does feel like there's so much competition from, stories that have like larger than life, you know, challenges and powers and everything. But I think there needs to be room to tell, you know, stories just about us as we are as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. And one of the other, I mean, the slice of life just was the story that I think Wash Day needed to be. But although I did like consider heavily like going into a fantasy part and a sci-fi part, having like 3 parts for Wash Day, but I just scrapped that. I'm just like, you're doing the most. So I was like, chill.
No, like fireballs with the.
I mean, I think the stories are really cool, so maybe one day. But I was just like, this is the most important one I felt, and another reason that and one of the reasons why I think Wash Day is doing well is because it is slice of life. So it can appeal to people who have not read comics before and may not be into the genre stuff or didn't really get into them because they thought, you know, they're not into superheroes and things like that. So they see this slice of life story that is something that's super similar to what they go through or what people they know go through. And that's why it maybe has worked and also been able to get press on like Essence and Ebony, which is also like with the help of some of my friends too, of course, that like worked there and knew somebody who worked there. But like, you know, I don't think a lot of those publications talk about comics often. So I think that's why it worked, which is really interesting because I thought it was one of the reasons why it wasn't going to be as popular. I was like, maybe it's too niche. And I don't know if the demo that I want to like get this is going to get it, like is going to even know about it. But they're getting to know about it, so it's been really
there's
awesome.
A need, you know, I mean,
and I want I want more of like more Black women, especially like people who've never read comics before, to see this and be like, oh, there's stuff out there for me, and they start to do some digging, and maybe they want to write their own comics. Like we just need more people reading and creating, and we'll be good money.
Yeah, and if nothing else, like you said, I think the key thing is like for people who maybe never read comics, the story is so relatable that for them it might even come across as a comic. It just comes across as this story that I know about, I take part in, and so it translates into this like, well, this is my story, you know, or this is another way to talk about things that happen for Black women all the time on a day-to-day basis. So I think that's why things like, you know, Essence looks at that and it's like, oh, well, you know, Black women hair, we talk about that, and this is a creative medium that, you know, puts it out there. So if nothing else, you know, Essence showcasing it, you know, for example, even, you know, kind of like broadcast that they can even broaden what they typically traditionally advertise or put out there. So.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you know, this is a story it's not necessarily, you know, about me or about Tony. It's like this is a story, you know, because like Black women obviously so often get left out of the narrative in comics, unfortunately, you know, and this is a story where it's like we all can enjoy it, but it's like decidedly, you know, like a story from the women's perspective, and I think it's just. I don't know. I think it's really dope, and I think it's something that needs to happen.
Yeah, I was. I every time, like when I was writing Wash Day, it's like I'm doing this for Black girls and Black women. That's it. Like, of course, I want other people to read it, but this is like for us. And like, I even was like struggling, like, oh, is this gonna just, you know, kind of keep out or be too exclusive? But I was just like, fuck that, because like I wanted, like I was just like, who cares? Like I want to do something for us, because like, I mean, who else is gonna do it but us? That's why it was really important for my team to be women of color too, and people who could like relate, because with Wash Day and like the story, because I think it would just bring more to their work in it. But yeah, this is like unapologetically for like Black women. I feel like most of my like art or most of my like stories are going to be for us. because I just want to like create things that I would want to read and like fill this void that I like feel like, you know, oh, I really want this like to read something about this, and then I'm like, well, I should just kind of make it. Like the next story, I guess I can tease. No, okay, I won't tease too much, but it's based off a very specific iconic song, and it'll come out towards the end of the summer, but it's also very specifically like a Black, mostly female experience.
Now I'm gonna be guessing.
I know. I'm like,
no, it's not. Don't
like
give it
wash
away.
Day. Yeah, it's really just because like I'm like, let's just keep this about wash day like for these next few weeks, and then I'll be like, hey guys, this is happening. Yeah, but I'm hyped. So there is something to look forward to. Hopefully, people like wash day, and then they'll like they'll like the next stuff that's coming out.
Of course they will. Of course they will. And I'm actually happy to know that you're actually continuing to write. Yeah. I know sometimes writers they'll burn all their creative energy and just like I don't know what to do next. So
and money.
Yeah,
but
and money.
Kickstarter is helping because like as a writer too, like we gotta. I mean, I'm paying everybody who I'm working with. I'm not going to be asking for favors. Like, no, I want you to, I will pay you. Like even if somebody offers, like I think it's really important to pay, creators and artists, and also like, especially people of color. Like I'm just trying to keep that money within like our community and with us, especially people who are freelancers. So, but as a writer, it's expensive. Cause artists, they deserve to get paid their rates, but that's I'm like I got a 9-to-5 job. I got my student loans forever. So it was like a challenge for me to be like, oh dang, like is this gonna be profitable for me to just like be a writer of comics? How do people do it? But then I realized like there's so many white men who are just privileged with the money. So that kind of answered that question. Yeah. But I mean, my job pays me well, so I'm able to like have that extra money to go towards side projects. And this Kickstarter has definitely helped like create a sort of like comic savings for me as well. It's not done yet, but I'm definitely just going to kind of pull that into my other future projects.
Mm-hmm. Well, as I told you in the green room, like I didn't even. I just saw the Kickstarter on Twitter.
Yeah.
I went and purchased, and then I went back and was like, okay, let me see who this person is. Like that's how excited I was about it. And like when, as I was saying before too, like when Tony was saying, hey, we're going to, interview. Yep, I'm there. Like there was like no question. So like, I'm sure there's probably several other people too that are like just as excited. I mean, it's just that feel good moment where I'm like, yes, I'm in there. I can do this. This is me. So yeah.
Thank you so much. It makes me. I was telling you too. I'm like, I'm so happy when it's people that I don't like know well, so they're not lying to me.
Right. That's true. That's
like,
true.
Oh, yes. Like this is genuine. Yeah. Like that's dope.
Yep.
So it's getting about that time. I did promise about 60 minutes roughly. So before we kick it off, I just want to let everybody know that they need to go to the Kickstarter page that we have tweeted out more than once.
Yep.
We want to make sure that, and retweeted, we want to make sure that we get these stretch goals done. So before we go, is there anything else you'd like to tell us? And where can we find you on the social media?
Yeah, so the Wash Day Kickstarter, I made a super easy domain, washdaycomic.com, which redirects to the Kickstarter. Definitely appreciate anybody's support, sharing, whatever. If you know somebody who got some hair that they spend a lot of time with, like, feel free to share it with them. And you can find me pretty easily at Jamila Rowser on Twitter, on Instagram.com. So it's JAMILA ROWSER, and that is pretty much me everywhere. But yeah, it's been awesome being on the show. I've had so much fun talking with you guys, and I am glad you guys are hyped and excited about Wash Day. It makes me really happy.
Yay!
Yeah, I'm definitely excited, and I'm hoping that the stretch goals, get unlocked so that because
we can do it.
Yeah, we're big Joe and McGill fans as well. So
absolutely.
She's amazing. I was just like, you want to work with me?
We will make sure that shows leading up to your final days, we will make sure to keep retweeting out and mentioning this. We will also be at Universal Fan Con, so we will also make sure that people know about your book and this fascinating interview that we did.
Thank you. I wish I was going. I backed the Kickstarter, but I don't know about my funds right now. Thank you for representing while you're there.
Awesome. Okay, so Grace, where can people find you on social media?
So the good people can find me at Instagram, LoveJones20, Twitter, GBreezy20, and those are the main spots right about now. Yep.
GBreezy. Okay.
GBreezy.
I like that. Marcus, where can we find you on social media?
MarcusKwame.com is the best place. You can find all my links, and at Marcus Kwame on Twitter.
Awesome. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Latinegro. Also, my website, anthonyotero.com. You can find links to my books and anything I may have written. So that's it. Thank you for being here. Everyone have a good night. And this was a great show. Thank you.
Yeah. And definitely come join us when you come out with your next project.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, because we will seek you out.
This is just the beginning.
Just the beginning.
Right? It's an origin story.
Yes.